Joining us now, we see her via Zoom is Senator Rosemary Bayer, and she is from the 12th District. Bayer? Do I have that?
Bayer.
Bayer, yeah,
like
Bayer, of course. Looks like it's spelled just like that. I knew that. I pronounced it right earlier. I don't know. I got all nervous when I got you just smiling at me right here in Zoom. Senator, thank you very much for joining us. You are representing Michigan in the 12th District, and that is a big chunk of our listening area. I appreciate you taking time for us today. How you doing? How you feeling? And where are you?
Well, where I am is in my home office, of course, in Beverly Hills, part of your area as well, and enjoying this absolutely beautiful day. I'm hoping to get outside.
Yeah, what a great weekend, huh? It was awful nice. Well, we need some sunshine in our state of Michigan. Just so people, if they don't know, you are a Democrat in the Senate here in the state of Michigan, and it's been a challenging time. We had a tough week, and I kept telling everybody, I said, this is going to be a little bit harder to untangle than it was to tangle up, and no question about it. I mean, we all saw the news. We had protests in the Capitol. We had the governor going in one direction, certainly the Republican leadership going in a different direction. Do you just can you just wrap up last week in some way that we can all digest it? And I would love to hear your thoughts on all that,
Sure,
or wherever you want.
Of course.
It
was an interesting week up there. I'll say that. I can't argue with that a bit. But so first of all, I will say that, I'm new to politics. So I came into this job last year. I'm actually a computer engineer. I'm a computer scientist, a data scientist. This is pretty different for me. And the other thing that I did before I got here was I was an activist and a protester. So I actually am a strong believer in the right for people to protest. So it was nerve-wracking on the protest side, mostly because of the open carry the guns, and it's not so much that the idea is itself bad, it's that when people are in crowds, accidents happen, things happen that they wouldn't normally do on their own. The crowd mentality thing happens, or just plain old accidents once you get a lot of people crowded together. So that was nerve-wracking, and they were not very well behaved as protester goes. I've been in a lot of protests with a lot more people than that, and people were better behaved than that group. I was kind of very disappointed to see them kind of right in. Our poor sergeants did such a great job there trying to maintain order, but they wore no masks and they didn't do any social distancing, and so their faces right up in the face of the sergeants with no real protection. I mean, they're wearing masks, but not really good ones, of course, and the other guys were just sort of shouting right at them. That is not at all appropriate. I felt very bad, and some of our senators were really nervous about having people there with the guns. It was intimidating, and they were nooses and other things that clearly were designed to be intimidating, rather than here's what we have to say.
So, Senator Bayer, thank you very much for being with us and sharing your background. It's always nice, to get some new people in the Capitol, and good to know your history as one who certainly has been an activist in protesting in the community. So, first of all, before I go where I was going to go, so you were in the Senate chambers. We know the protesters were right in the Senate chambers. Can you talk about your emotions at that time, and were you fearful yourself?
I was not, actually, and I know other people were, and I totally respect that. It can be fearful. I am from a family that grew up with guns in general. Not that I actually don't agree that we should have people with rifles up there in the gallery. It is intimidating for many people. And it impacts your work, just thinking that there's such a thing, that something could go wrong up there. So yeah, I disapprove of the idea of that. But generally speaking, I grew up in the country, people have guns. It's not, that part of it is not the problem. It's the overall intent of the protest was the issue.
And I will get beyond.
Right next to me was Senator Santana, and she was literally wearing a bulletproof vest. She was very, very nervous about that.
So were there others that were, and I will get beyond this line of questioning. So I'm just curious. We weren't there. We see it. See, this is what's cool about the show. We see this stuff on TV, right? You see it on TV, and a lot of the media, they have their own agendas one way or the other, so it's hard to really get a sense of what was really happening. So on behalf of all your constituents, thank you for telling us the story. Were there other lawmakers that you think were wearing bulletproof vests then? They were worried about
I
that?
only saw one. I don't know if some, I think there was only one on our side of the floor. Most of the day, the Republican senators were in caucus, so we didn't actually see them very much. I know a lot of them were outside walking around amongst the crowd, so possibly they were. I don't know though. I didn't see that.
Senator Rosemary Bayer joining us from Michigan's 12th District right here on the MegaCast. Thank you very much. So let's talk about where we need to go. Your thoughts. Where do we need to go? Any comments on where we're at right now and where you would like to see us go?
Sure. Well, of course, I like everyone else. I would like to see us get back to normal. That's what we're all getting excited about. There's a lot, we are really doing well in the state. And I know it's frustrating because everybody wants to get out there. I know yesterday I saw a lot of cars and I saw a lot more people outside. And it's understandable. We want to get outside, but we still aren't there yet. So we really have to maintain the careful protocols that we've put in place. So and I know that Dr. Calhoun was trying to reinforce that in the last press conference with the governor to make sure people recognize that we are doing really well. And the reason we're doing really well is because we're being very careful. So it's too soon to give up those careful practices. Now, that being said, I think there's a lot of positive things going on. I was at a meeting with the Citizens Research Council. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of work with data. And so, of course, I'm a data scientist. I'm always drawn to the people that actually take the real data and analyze it. So they're looking at recovery and what does our recovery look like? And from my work in the Senate, most of my committees are budget committees. I'm on the appropriations, but I'm also on subcommittees like education, which is where my heart is, and transportation, some of these big things that we have to do. So looking at what the experts see in our recovery, and this is a group that's analyzing data. It's not an answer, it's not legislation, it's none of those things. It's part of the input that we have in looking at what's going to happen and where can we go. And they had a fairly positive aspect, and the reason why they think we are in better shape than we often feel right now is because our economy slowed down, right? We're in a slowdown where our revenues are down. I mean, most people are not working. So, but that is driven by legislation as opposed to the economy. So, because Michigan is, primarily our big employers are manufacturing and healthcare. And both of those things, as soon as we are ready, as soon as we have this thing under control, both of those things are turned back on. So it's not like we have to rebuild everything again for those things to turn back on. So that was a really interesting perspective. And in their data, they showed a sharp line on the recovery side going up. It doesn't go all the way back right away. It goes up fast and then it keeps going up. And I think because small businesses are going to be struggling to get back, and the companies that did not get help through the different processes and things that were available between the county and the state and the federal government, if you didn't get help from those places, then there's rebuilding that's going to have to happen, and those will take longer. But the majority of the people employed in this state are ready to get back to work, and that's really an important thing to remember. I don't think it's going to take us as long to get back as we're afraid of. It's not like 2008. It's not like that at all.
Senator Bayer, I think I've found an optimist. I think I have. I like that. I feel the same way. I think we're going to come back. Looking at it realistically, though, there are a lot of businesses that have been impacted. And not everybody got the PPP money. Not everybody got the Oakland County money. Not everyone, but a lot of money was thrown back into the economy. And I saw a report on the national news yesterday that said we've almost put as much money back in the economy as has come out over the last month. But now it's really important that we are able to get things back open again. And we just talked to Joseph Valentine, city manager of Birmingham. He seems eager to get his downtown rocking and rolling one more time. So if you are talking to the governor, I don't know if you talk to her every day, but if you were, and she was asking your direct counsel, what would you tell her about how to open things back up?
She's doing it exactly right, actually. So, and it's again back to my data background. She is very, very carefully doing this with data, right? Every step we take, we then analyze what happened. We watch for 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. We analyze what happened. That administration of hers, she has some amazing people in there. The Dr. Calhoun's team, I mean, looking at the data and deciding, okay, now we can take the next step. Okay, then we're going to take the next step. And then we can stop if we go too far. Rather than having to shut everything off and start over again, we just slow down again, we catch back up. I mean, we're managing it. I think that is the best way for us to get through this. I really think she's doing the right thing. The things that I'm working on right now, the other piece that is really critical that we just have to spend more time on, I think, is the education side. So I just got off, and so it was nice that you mentioned your partner is West Bloomfield Schools. I was on the meeting of all the superintendents in Oakland County just before this. And of course, your Dr. Hill from West Bloomfield was on there and talking about the things that they need to be ready to get back to school in the fall. Because school is not only education, right? That's the critical piece. If we don't get people back into school, that's our recovery is going to be stopped. And partly because people won't be able to get to work. I mean, school is the number one provider of taking care of kids during the day also. So all of those things, there's a number of things that have to happen for schools to be able to go back in the fall and to be safe and to be clean and to be, be able to do social distancing as prescribed by then, and transportation, and do we have enough teachers, and all of those things that are going to have to happen by August, which is right around the corner.
Senator Bayer, you were on the call. Thank you for sharing that story. I really appreciate that. And we on this show, we talk to a different superintendent almost every day across our area. We've stayed in very close touch with them, and I think the work the schools have done has been just amazing, to get the education into the hands of the students in their home, their parents helping out their kids. School districts have gone much further than just educating our kids in our area. They've been feeding them and, just getting in touch with the community on so many different levels. Dr. Hill is a great example, but, it's all of our superintendents doing an amazing job. But if you were to take the temperature of those superintendents that were on the call you were on just a couple of moments ago, what would you say their feeling is about actually having their physical buildings open in the fall? I mean, what do you think about that? Is that going to happen, or don't we know yet?
Well, I think it's going to happen. I think they think it will happen. The question is, in what manner? So because there's likely to be some kind of distancing control still at that point, how do we do that? In elementary schools, it's probably a little bit easier to have small groups, right? Small classrooms with kids that are spread out. But in high schools, that's almost an impossible task. How are we ever going to get 1,000 kids spread out enough, right? So this is the challenge, to do blended education in a new way, and there's so many things that are not in place to support that yet. I think just having the tools, having the knowledge of all the different things we're going to need to be able to do it, and it's a very short time frame. So I think that there's a lot that we have to do in the next few months. They are working on it. I don't know that. I already know that. I'm trying to figure out what the costs are, even just the extra cleaning costs, and so many things to factor in. So I don't know what's going to turn out of it by fall. I do think that we will have buildings, unless we end up with another resurgence and we have to go way back. The path that we're on, we should be able to have school buildings open.
Well, I know they're working on it, Senator Bayer. I know they are.
Yeah.
Pat Watson at Bloomfield Hills School District,
Yep.
superintendent there. He gave us our favorite quote that we've had so far during this entire broadcast. He said on the show not too long ago, he said, "Dave, hope is not a plan." So that is a really, what a great, I use it every day. It's just perfect. He's right. We can hope that we're open in the fall, but we don't know.
Yeah.
Another.
Yeah, and they're working. I will tell you that. So Superintendent Vlasic was on the phone. I mean, all of the superintendents in this area are in this meeting. I mean, everybody is working, and we're getting ready on the legislative side. What are the things that need to change to adapt to what you need, right? We can't be counting the old way, the butts and seat way. That's going to be different now, right? Sometimes people are going to be at home or in some other building or some other location. And one of the things that I've been working on is working with the department and the ISDs, right? The Oakland ISD and the rest of the ISDs in the state to make sure that all kids have access to a network every day. So that as we do blended education models, everybody can participate, right? So lots of pieces.
So, the legislature and everyone in Lansing is going to have their hands full figuring out how to make the money work. We got a huge hole in our budget. We know that. Dr. Schwartz of the Avondale District was on our show not too long ago, and, he just was, taking a guess. He said maybe they may be losing $500 a student in state aid. Do you think that number is close? And do you have any idea, where do you think we're going to end up? Are the schools going to have the money they need in the fall and next year to do what we need to do?
Oh, I wish there was an easy answer to that question. I mean, we definitely are going to we are seeing a decline in revenues, and it's significant, right? It's not small across the board. I know that as we start talking about budget for next year, obviously we're trying to protect the schools at the top of the list, right? It's highest priority. The other thing that we're doing is working with our congressional reps and our U.S. senators to advocate and figure out how we can get education funding into the next stimulus act, right? So both the foundational funding, which is just your running that operation there, also the IDEA Act, which is the special ed funding. The commitment from when that started in 1975 was that the federal government would pay 40% and they pay 15%. So even if we just could get that money, that would make a big difference. It would free up their operating funds from having to make that up. And so we are working hard on the federal side to get that done from there and get some help from outside, because there's only so much we're going to be able to do here in Michigan.
Senator Bayer,
it's worth the effort.
Senator Bayer, no one ever said this is going to be easy. Welcome to your new job, but, we need really good, smart people in Lansing right now, because this is the biggest challenge we've faced in years. Yeah. We got to take care of the education. We got to make sure people are healthy. We got to get our economy going. We don't want to create a bigger hole in the budget. It should be nice if we can fix the damn roads along the way too. So, we have all these things. It's, that whole thing is going to get a lot harder, right? I mean, if we don't have the money that we anticipated, you guys are going to have a hole in your budget. Listen, I always thought it'd be fun to be a lawmaker, but you can have it right now. You guys, you got your hands full.
Me, most of my committees are budget committees.
So I wish you the best of luck. Hey, thanks for coming on our show. It's really good to meet you. I look forward to meeting you in person. And is there anything else you want to share with the folks before we say so long?
I just want to thank everybody for doing their part, right? The people that are out working, the healthcare workers, first responders, grocery stores, postal workers, everybody that's out there. And thank everybody who's staying in as they should and taking care not to help the spread and help us get this under control. It's working. We're doing it right. Yay. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. Good talking to you. And she is Senator Rosemary Bayer of the 12th District here in Oakland County.